And we are live. Hey guys, welcome back to the Ad Lib Podcast, and this is episode number 53. Right now, I can hear the stream going on somewhere in my
Oh,
headphones.
sorry.
I have no
Because
idea where that is.
I put it on mine. Just a second. Let me put the volume
But
down.
it's driving me crazy.
So, excuse me.
I wonder which one it is. Oh, it's on my mobile. There it is. Now I get it. All right, how's it going, Franco?
It's okay. Hello, Yuria. We have Yuri or Yuri E. Yuria, you can tell me your name. Someone left a comment already. 5 people watching. It's good. Caught up on a lot of movies, which we're going to review soon enough. But before we go on to the more, fun and lighter stuff, we'd like to dedicate this episode to the dearly departed Zvezdan Relic. Zvezdan, I haven't met him properly, but there's been an outpour of sorrow and grief to the surprising departure of Zvezdan. He was a light in in the arts community, and it also happens that the last showing of my short film had to happen at his place in Mostar, Kishot. So
Mm.
hope he safe travels to the other side, Zvezdan, and thanks for hosting the last showing of the year, basically at the Kishot place. Um, uh, yeah, Zvezdan was also a really great photographer. We also want to send our warm thoughts and prayers to Theodore Relic, who was also a filmmaker but fellow artist of ours. Again, we salute you, and we can now start our podcast. We dedicate this special episode to Zvezdan.
So rest in peace, Zvezdan Relic. And all our thoughts are with you, obviously with Theo and the whole family. Um, let's move on. So today, guys, obviously we've got a bit of a Christmas special today. The reason why I wanted to do this podcast is because a bunch of movies came out in the past few days. A lot of movies came out, and we have lots of thoughts about them, of course. And here we're talking about, first of all, we've got a series to talk about. We've got Percy Jackson and the Olympians. We've got Dream Scenario. We've got Rebel Moon, Part 1, A Child of Fire. We've got Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. And we've got Maestro. So that's lots and lots of movies and series to talk about. This episode, there will be no trailers, no news. We're just going to focus solely on the reviews. So we'll keep this as short as possible because, of course,
And
it's the Christmas period.
obviously, give us a like, subscribe, and also say hi to us on chat. There's 9 people watching. Wow. They're getting 12 people now watching. Well, everyone is like getting ready to go to Christmas, most probably, to go to the Christmas drinks.
Pop this on their YouTube whilst they're prepping.
And also, before we start, who is sponsoring us?
Yes, because the Ad Lib Podcast is sponsored by Embassy. Thank you, Embassy, for sponsoring this podcast. And when was that? Well, that was yesterday, right, Franco?
Yes, yesterday. I think
Yeah, yesterday. Yesterday we went to watch Aquaman. It was an experience, but definitely thank you to Embassy for hosting us. I think we had a very good time at Embassy, of course. Cinema 4. We were in Cinema 4. Great screen, great sound. I had a very good time. But let's have a quick look at what is showing right now. Actually, I want to start with what's coming soon because I think that's really exciting to see some of these movies here. We've got Anyone But You, starring Sydney Sweeney and Glenn Powell. Glenn Powell being one of the actors who I think are real rising stars in Hollywood. I'm really looking forward to going to watch that. Obviously, Franco, we're very excited to go watch Poor Things
Poor things
at Embassy.
as well.
Super excited, starring obviously Emma Stone, Mark Ruffalo, Willem Dafoe. That's a massive cast. There's Mean Girls coming out as well, which is apparently a musical, and obviously the remake. It is a remake, right? Of The
Yeah,
Color Purple.
The Color Purple as well. It is a musical remake. Mean Girls is also a musical remake.
As far as I know, yes, Mean Girls is
Oh,
a
okay, okay,
musical.
okay. Lots of
There is,
musicals.
yes, there
Wonka, Color
is
Purple, Mean
the
Girls.
weird thing. Did you see the article, Franco? I think it was on the Hollywood Reporter. How Hollywood studios are afraid to advertise their movies as musicals because they're apparently something is showing on their stats or whatever that people don't want to go watch a musical,
It
which is
depends.
weird.
I mean, it depends. I mean, I know some theater practitioners that love musicals. So I mean, what was it? I think we should go a bit back to musical. There was La La Land. La La Land was quite a success as far as I remember. No, it was quite a cult
La
hit.
La Land was, yes, The Greatest Showman was also very successful.
Greatest Showman, very beloved in Malta as well, and there
hmm
some people audition it with some of the songs as well.
So I honestly don't get why studio. They're obviously this is not based on hearsay, right? They've got the stats probably to prove it. But if you pay attention to the trailers of all these movies, not one, and even Wonka. Look at the trailer of Wonka. You have no idea
Mm-mm-mm.
that's a musical if you just pay attention to the trailer. None of them show that they are musicals, which is really weird. Really weird.
And West Side Story as well. Not to, I'm remembering. I still haven't watched the recent West Side Story,
Oh, that was one of my favorite movies that year. That
but
was so good, so good.
onwards and upwards with what's showing on Embassy this Christmas time.
Yes, this Christmas you can go and watch Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, which of course we will be reviewing today. I mean, obviously, I don't want to spoil our review, but I think it's a very watchable, fun movie. I'm not going to say more because again, I'm going to spoil the review, but I think it's a very, very watchable movie, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Lots and lots of showings. So if you got the holidays with your kids, you can go watch it in the morning as well at 10:20. I always mention this. I really like going to watch a movie in the cinema at like 10:20.
Back back in the day, actually, we used to go exactly after we had Christmas lunch. We used to go watch a movie at Eden back in the day. Sorry, I mean, competitor, but it's not that there's many cinemas in Malta. But that's what we used to do. Like I remember watching The Lion King, Little Mermaid, Aladdin, always after on Christmas Day, and we were like, what? Where are we going to go? Basically,
Franco, did you know this really shocked me. Apparently, in America, the busiest day of the whole year for cinemas is Christmas Day.
Christmas Day. Okay,
Christmas Day, apparently.
interesting.
I heard it on another podcast. Apparently, Christmas Day is the busiest day for Americans, which I find very, very weird. Very weird. But an interesting little stat there. Obviously, we've got Wonka as well. I think from all these movies we have to talk about here, Wonka is definitely the. I mean, it's not a Christmas movie per se, but it's like it is a very like, it's the kind of movie I can see becoming a classic for the holidays because it's
Mm,
so fun. The vibes are so positive, and it's one that the whole family will definitely enjoy. Like the kids will love the music and the visuals and so on. At the same time, then the the parents obviously will enjoy seeing a character that is beloved, Willy Wonka, see how that character develops, and I think it's a fantastic watch. I really highly recommend going to watch Wonka. Then we've got Journey to Bethlehem. Obviously, this is one for. I mean, this is obviously not marketed towards me, but if you're maybe a religious person who would like to see the story of the birth of Christ, I'm sure this one would be for you.
I'll
Um,
I'll be right back, guys. Just had some technical issues. I'll be right back. Keep
All right,
telling me.
Franco, no worries. I'll keep going on with the sponsored section. We've got Ferrari, which I am super excited to go and watch. Ferrari comes out on Tuesday, 26th December. So I'm really excited to go watch Ferrari. Obviously, directed by Michael Mann, starring Adam Driver, Penelope Cruz. So that is one I'm super excited to go watch. Then, obviously, there is Napoleon, which has been a massive hit with viewers here in Malta. Obviously, Napoleon being a massive, massive hit. And Disney's Wish, which is definitely another one for the family. One families can definitely enjoy. And cannot forget Hunger Games, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which, like
Still
I
going
always say,
strong, huh? Still going
still
strong.
going strong in Malta. I think recently I just checked. I was like, I'm curious. Are people still going to watch Hunger Games? And I checked just a random screening, and there were some seats booked for the Hunger Games. So it's interesting to see that people are still going to watch the Hunger Games
Uh,
prequel movie.
we could also consider this as a musical, because there were some songs
Mm.
being played. Just
True. Very true. So that is that with the sponsored section. Thank you to Embassy for sponsoring this podcast. And with that, Franco, I think we can move on to the reviews. Like I said, no trailers, no news today, just purely reviews.
But
And
first, there's a really important question we have to ask. What is the other podcast all about?
oh, yes, before we get into it. So, the Ad Lib Podcast is all about movies, all about series, all about video games. No video games today, unfortunately. But we do have a lot of movies for you, and we do have one series, to be fair. Franco, before we get into the reviews, I don't know if you want to mention what you've been up to in the last few days, because you haven't mentioned since you
Oh,
weren't on
ch-
last week.
chilling. But no, I'm really sorry. I wish I could have joined you because Godzilla Minus One was quite an experience. I wish I could have discussed with you more stuff. Guys, I don't know if there are any more showings of Godzilla Minus One. Please go watch it because it's for its budget and for its production value. It gives such a great story. Please do go watch it on a movie, not on your phone screen or a laptop screen, because you're gonna miss out. Or at least if you have a good what you call it, a good hi-fi television system, yeah, that's worth watching it on that. But trust me, go watch it on cinema. And it also shows that there's interest in these kind of movies as well on the
Hmm.
island if you go watch
Definitely,
it. And
definitely.
yeah, that was I'm still reeling of it, and it's going to be definitely in the top 10, not top 5, but in the top 10 for sure. There's also, yeah, we went to watch Aquaman together, watched Dream Scenario, continued a bit of Scavenger's Reign. um Out of all series that I've been watching, Scavenger's Reign is still holding my attention, because I was watching a bit of Murder at the End of the World. It seems this pacing is slowing down a bit. I think I was watching episode 5, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, but I have to go to continue it and finish
Finish it
it.
off because
Yep.
the last episode was last week or this week?
Last week, if I'm not mistaken.
Last
Yeah.
week. I reviewed it. Yes. I reviewed it last in the last podcast.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, it was. I like the ending. I like the ending quite a bit.
Okay.
Um, um,
I also found now a movie with starring Jeremy Allen White, apparently called Fremont, about an Afghan refugee in California, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm looking forward to watch that. Looking forward to watch Saltburn as well. Yeah, watched Maestro, watched Dream Scenario, Nick Cage. I don't, but let me not spoil the review for now.
mhm.
What else did you? What else? That's so far. But I'm catching up with the Lost movie because I really wanted to watch so many movies this year. Yeah. I said Maestro. I mentioned Maestro. Yeah,
Yeah,
Dream Scenario and Aquaman. Yep, that's it so
yeah.
far. How about you, Andrea?
Um, I started a new series. I started Reacher because I've been hearing a lot of good stuff about it, and yeah, so I decided to start Reacher. I watched a couple of episodes. Fun so far. Having a good time watching it. It's one of those series I'll watch when I'm training. Kind of don't
Mm,
really need to think too much about it, but it's just fun to watch.
and
Good, good.
and also seeing the jacked up
Yeah,
main
that
character
helps
as well.
motivation,
Yeah,
right?
motivation.
Helps motivation when you're training. Um, apparently, viewership for it is insane. Apparently, Amazon is just making money off of
Yeah,
it.
I saw some clips to be honest. I didn't watch it all, but some of the clips, the guy is really I really like the guy. He was in Fast and Furious X as well. What's his name, by the way?
Okay, so the name of the star is. Alan
Alan
Richson.
Ritson. Alan Ritson. Yeah. And the few scenes I've snippets I saw, I think it's worth our while. So there's not it's not Tom Cruise, Jack Reacher. This is
No,
like
oh my God.
they said this is the Jack Reacher.
There were two of those, right? Two of the Tom Cruise, Jack
Yes,
Reacher
yes,
movies.
yes,
I think
yes.
I watched the first one. The first one wasn't awful.
The
I watched the
second,
first
the
one.
second one they didn't. It was critically and banned, as far as I know.
I don't know. To be fair, the first one I didn't hate it. I think I went to watch it in the cinema when it came out. I think I went to watch it in the cinema. But this Reacher is so far. I've watched 2 episodes. I'll keep on watching it. Obviously, currently the season 2 is coming out.
Uh-huh.
Obviously, week by week on a week by week basis. And yeah, I've been having a very good time watching it so far. The first 2 episodes. You know, I saw this comment. I saw this comment. I think on Twitter, because obviously you know how when you start looking something up, then all the tweets about that topic come out. I saw a person mention that they consider Alan Richardson a good option for James Gunn's Batman,
Ustia? Oh.
and I really see it because in the series, Reacher obviously he's obviously got the muscles and he's strong. He's a good fighter,
Mm-mm-mm.
but he's also very very smart. He seems to be a very very good fit for a detective as well in this. So I honestly really see it as a perfect fit.
Ustia,
I hope
very
James Gunn.
brawny, a brawny kind of Batman too. You're right. You're right. You're right.
Hmm.
What do the viewers think about this?
Yes, so viewers and listeners, currently we have, I think, 9 viewers, 8 viewers. Hello, welcome to the podcast, and let us know your thoughts about all the stuff we've been watching so far. I really don't have anything else to add apart from Reacher, because obviously the rest, I'm going to review pretty much all of them today. So, with that, Franco, let's start off with our reviews. And we're going to start off our review. I can keep the screen up, just
So
bring up.
if I keep looking back, we also have a special guest. Leica is right
Hello,
now.
Leica.
Right now, she's like face in the quilt, like this, keeping warm.
Hmm. This is one I think Lake I would really like. Percy Jackson and the Olympians, because Percy Jackson and the Olympians is now out on Disney Plus, and I got to watch the first 2 episodes this week. I watched it with my dad. This is a series that I think a lot of people will like. A lot of people will like. I really like it. I really like the first 2 episodes. I think the main star, what's his name? I've seen him with Ryan Reynolds before. Walker Scobell. I think Walker Scobell is a star, an up and
The
coming
same,
star.
the same child actor in what's its name? The time travel
Yeah, the one with
cipher.
Ryan Reynolds.
Mm-mm.
Which one was that? I don't remember. The Adam Project, the one on
No, the
Netflix.
project. Okay, okay.
He was obviously young Adam, and he was playing off Ryan Reynolds, who was the older Adam. I think this is a up and coming star. Obviously, he's been a great hit in both this series and in that movie. Interesting fact I learned about this. Apparently, when they were casting for young Adam in the Adam Project, obviously Walker Scobell went in for the casting, and he literally knew almost every line Ryan Reynolds had to say in Deadpool. He and when obviously when they were going through the casting videos, they said this is Ryan Reynolds, the younger Ryan Reynolds, like, and obviously he was the perfect casting for that movie, and he's the perfect casting for this series, because so far, like I've hinted already, this is a very 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 fun series. I haven't read the books, so I cannot comment about book accuracy.
I remember reading the books as well. Joe also read the books. By the way,
Yes.
Joe currently is in the air, not on air, in the air, coming to Malta. So maybe we can do a quick ad lib catch up as well.
Yes, definitely, that would be fun. But from what I can tell from online discourse and from what Joe himself said, apparently it's very, very, it sticks very close to the lore in the books and what happens in the books as well. But purely from if it's a fun, watchable series, I think this is a very, very, very fun, very watchable series. Visually, it does some very interesting stuff, especially obviously because we've got a lot of, ancient Greece mythos here.
Mm.
We've got the different gods, we've got the costumes, the armor, the weapons. There's some very, very interesting stuff. Obviously, here we're talking about the demigod Percy Jackson, who leads a quest across America to prevent a war among the Olympian gods. And the first two episodes pretty much are a setup for this whole story, right? Which will continue in the next episode. So overall, obviously, with just two episodes, it's hard to really comment about it too much. But from what I've seen so far from the first two episodes, very, very watchable. Um, I think the characters shown in the series are all interesting, very watchable, especially I forget names so much, especially Walker Scobell, who is just perfect in the role. Let me see if I have any other notes I had to say about it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Very engaging, which apparently, from what I can tell from online discourse, seems to really take the essence of the book and recreate it very successfully onto screen. Looking forward to watching more episodes of Percy Jackson and the Olympians, but I think, Franco, this was much needed by Disney Plus, because if you look at the Disney Plus originals, they're not good. It's like one flop after another. Need I mention Willow? Need I mention Willow? This is definitely no Willow. Let's put it that way. This is definitely no Willow. Um, um, Another interesting thing I wanted to mention, I didn't write this down in my notes, but now it came to mind. It's an interesting take also, because the kid, obviously, he starts to see different characters from Greek mythology, and these prove to be kind of like distractions for him. And it's an interesting way of tackling the theme of kids who have ADHD and
Mm,
attention
mm, mm.
disorders. So, and I found this a really, really very well done approach to tackling this kind of theme. Obviously, as an educator, I know what it means to deal with kids who have ADHD. And I think they really portray that really effectively in this series. So yes, very good stuff. Very, very, very good stuff. I hope this picks up more with regard to hype. I want this series to do well because it's very well made and very fun. Would you be interested in watching it, Franco?
I might. I mean, because I remember the first two movies with Logan Lerman back in the day when he was still a young star. But it seemed like they're going. This has potential. This has much more potential than the movies. And if Joe said he liked it, it must be good for sure.
Yeah. So looking forward to continue watching this. And with that, Franco, we can move on to our next first movie of the day, which is Dream Scenario. In the
Dream
meantime,
scenario.
okay, and here it comes. So, Franco, Dream Scenario. I haven't watched Dream Scenario. I didn't have time to watch it. I'll watch it
So,
this week.
Dream Scenario, it's about a hapless family man played by Nicolas Cage who finds his life turned upside down when millions of strangers suddenly start seeing him in their dreams. When his nighttime appearances take, I think, take a more horrific turn. Can you go down a bit, please?
Oh,
No worries. Yeah, take a nightmarish turn. Paul is forced to navigate his newfound stardom. So, you'd be interested to know that this actually happened, but they didn't know who the man was. There's this internet legend. I keep it as a legend that many people have been dreaming of the same man. So I think they took inspiration from that story. And Christopher Brogley, am I right? Christopher Borgley. Christopher Borgley really made a good movie, like with elements of comedy, drama, some horror as well. A really good horror when the dreams turned into nightmares. Nicolas Cage is just fantastic. I think he's enjoying this newfound stardom. The he he really puts the hapless family man. Like it's strange to find yourself loathe a character, but at the same time sympathize with him. And I think it's something that Cage really pulls off well. And because at the end of the day, you will sympathize with the character, see the journey that he goes through as well. Um, um, it also takes a jab on cancel culture, on consumerism as well, on capitalism. So there's
mhm.
all the elements that I like, and no one is no one like there's no one is spared, especially because there were moments where like when the dreams start turning into nightmares, he is technically right. Like, I didn't do anything in real life, but people were finding it difficult to be in his presence because of the dreams. I'm like, he's technically right. He didn't do anything in real life, so why are you feeling that? And understandably, it's like sometimes it happens that where you dream about something, and it's like, shit, should I tell them about the dream I had about them? It wasn't a nice dream, but it's more than just a dream about dreams. The comedy is great. It's the kind of cringe comedy that's very well in vogue this year. I I recommend it. I think it's also going to be in my top 10. Um,
Ooh, okay. Wow.
it's there's even the dreams are so well made as well. I liked it. It's not. It doesn't. I didn't feel out out like the pacing didn't feel bad. You'll find that the audience rating is not as good. Right now, I'm trying not to take care about ratings because the critics rating is high, and then the audience rating is not that high. But I think most probably it's because it takes jabs at many different aspects of modern society, and it's also a good satire on fame. So yeah, I'd be interested to know if any other people have watched it. What did they like? What did they dislike about him? I think it was really well edited as well. Some great sound design, and there's some moments where the editing is strange, like many cuts, but it shows the like the psychological state of mind at that moment of the situation
Okay.
again. And you can, if even if you, I think watching it for Nick Cage alone is well worth your time. I'd give it a 4 on 5 for sure.
Okay. 4 on 5. Very good. Astra. So there's definitely one I have to check out this week. Thankfully, this week, obviously, I have the holidays, so I'm free to watch as many things as I can.
could
Obviously,
also be could also be I don't know which is next. Is Aquaman next in our list?
we've got Rebel Moon next. Rebel Moon next.
Okay, okay, but it could also, because it could also be that after Aquaman and then seeing this and seeing the jump in quality, I'm like, okay. So take
Yeah.
care. This is like wine and meat and fish. You have to take care. What are you going to pair in movies as well?
Yeah, because I mean, I think no, I'm not going to say it because I was going to spoil two reviews, not one,
Okay.
from my comments. So I'll stop there. Obviously, referring to Aquaman and Rebel Moon. I'll mention this later on when I review both. Um, because when you watch, no, I'll stop there. Let's move on to Rebel Moon. You'll understand what I'm talking about now, because now I'm going to be reviewing Rebel Moon Part One, A Child of Fire. Now, before I start my review, I think there's some important stuff to be said here. Now, obviously, this is a Zack Snyder movie. And watching this, you can instantly tell that it's a Zack Snyder movie. It's definitely a Zack Snyder movie. Um, whether it's with regard to the visuals, whether it's with regard to the style taken, whether it's with regard to the characters, how serious everything is, the kind of like lack of humor and jokes, the everything about it screams Zack Snyder. Now, I know that Zack Snyder has built. I know that Zack Snyder has built quite a cult right behind him, and I'm a big fan of Zack Snyder, as our long time viewers and listeners will know. I even liked Batman versus Superman. I actually liked Batman versus Superman. I love his version of the Justice League, the 4 hour Zack Snyder cut. I love that version. I think it's
It's miles. I
beautiful.
think it's miles ahead.
Mm,
It's miles ahead than Joss
miles ahead.
Whedon, and because I refuse to watch the Joss Whedon version. In fact,
But honestly, I have to say, I really, 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 really did not like Rebel Moon Part One: A Child of Fire. And I hate saying this. I really, really hate saying this because, again, I'm a big fan of Zack Snyder. I hope viewers and listeners don't think that I'm one of those people who's like anti Zack Snyder because of the whole cult and the whole bots issue with bots pushing for the just. I love his version of the Justice League. I really, really, really like Batman versus Superman. I think I've liked pretty much every one of his movies. If I had to go through his movies, I love 300. 300 was my whole personality when that came out. Like that came out in secondary school. 300 was my whole personality when that came out. I really liked Army of the Dead as well. It has a 5.8 on IMDb. I really liked Army of the Dead. So I pretty much liked every one of his movies. I haven't watched Sucker Punch, so I can't comment about Sucker Punch, but I love Watchmen. Love, love, love Watchmen. So yeah, I pretty much love all his movies, minus Sucker Punch, which I haven't watched. Man of Steel. I love Man of Steel. I think that's a great, great, great movie.
Same here with Man of Steel, Sucker Punch. I think you like it better than Rebel Moon by the looks of it. So it's not because it's not I told it it's not as good as Man of Steel, to be honest. But it's got its moments. Again, I mean, like you were saying, Zack Snyder knows his action, and he knows how to direct action. Anyway,
Yeah.
you were going to say
And that's a very good segue to the review section of this because I mean, when you're getting into a Zack Snyder movie, the story is not going to be the strongest, the dialogue is not going to be the strongest. That's expected. Although I still have stuff to say about that as well. But here, it's sad to say that not even the action is good. The action is bland, full of stupid slow motion. What the fuck is this? Is this 2006 again? I mean, slow motion was fine in 300 for the style that they were going for there, but there is so much pointless. It's not needed. You don't need half the movie is slow motion. If this movie did not have slow motion, I think it would be 1 hour long. I really think it would. And I was watching, and Tristian was eating next to me as I was watching this. And at one point, and I'm like, slow motion, exposition, more slow. And my girlfriend's like, why are you watching this? And I'm like, I mean, I have to watch it, right? For the review. And more slow motion. It's like literally the whole movie is slow motion. So
we should do the reviews like this, Mela, with slow motion.
every action scene is like this. Like, seriously, you can't. I really. And then at one point, as a ship flies down, and it's in slow motion, and you see Sofia Boutella turning around, slow motion. It's why? Why? It's definitely not because there wasn't enough material to work with. Because he's got a director's cut coming up with an extra hour added on to it, which this movie definitely needs, by the way. Because this movie obviously is clearly ripping off three much, much, much better properties. It's ripping off Dune, ripping off Seven Samurai, and ripping off, obviously, clearly Star Wars, right? And all of those three properties, unfortunately, are much, 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 much better than this. So let's get into why this is, in my opinion, one of the worst movies of the year for me personally. And again, I'm very sad saying this because I am, again, a very, very big fan of Zack Snyder. To start off, because I took down some notes here, to start off, honestly, the characters are awful. The characters, I came out of this movie and I cannot tell you one single thing about any of the characters. Let's take our protagonists, right? Sofia Boutella, Cora. First of all, unfortunately, I have to say that Sofia Boutella, I was excited to see her leading this. Obviously, she definitely looks the part. Looking at the trailers, the action sequences she was involved in looked intense, looked well done, although turns out they weren't in the movie. but I was excited to see her in this movie. I'm sorry, she doesn't have the charisma. I'm sorry, she doesn't have the power, the star power, the charisma, the stage presence. She doesn't have any of that to hold this movie on her shoulder. So there's that. But obviously, what is definitely not helping her is how bland and boring her character is. Her character is the classic sci-fi trope of um, the warrior who goes into hiding, quiet, doesn't want to get involved, but eventually is forced to get involved into the fight, and now is a committed defender of people in need. That is the most tropey approach you can take to a main protagonist of a movie which should be original, something that you expect to be original, because this is a new original IP. We're always pushing for new original IP, but this isn't new original IP. I mean, technically it is, but realistically, when you're watching it, you see, oh, that's Star Wars. Oh, look, it's Dune. Oh, look, now it's Seven Samurai. Like, anyways,
I
yeah, Franco,
remind me, I have a comment to make once you finish the review, but I'll especially with regards to writing, but I'll get back to it once you finish the
go
review.
for it, go for it, go for it, Franco. Since we're talking about the writing,
Because if he was aiming at doing a remix of all those stuff, I was imagining what if he got Quentin Tarantino on the writing credits.
Mm,
I'm serious about this. I know it sounds strange, but Quentin Tarantino did pick on his own love for Asian movies, especially John Woo, if I'm not mistaken, from certain aspects of Reservoir Dogs, and maybe lent his writing talents to this kind of IP if he's aiming to make an IP. Zack Snyder.
yeah, he needs better writers. I'm sorry, Zack Snyder. But, but the thing that upsets me, Franco, is even if the writing was good, visually the movie's not well done either. That's the sad part. Because even okay, so let me go
For
step by step.
for a Zack Snyder movie, that's a big thing. Yes, actually,
Yeah,
you think Zack Snyder knowing he knows his stuff, but not looking bland is kind of a shock to me as well. Huh?
and the thing is, the interesting stuff, because I would be lying if I said that none of this piqued my interest. There were quite a few scenes where I was like, oh, that's cool, that's cool, that's cool. But that's completely ripped off from a different movie. And you're like, oh, yeah, I mean, okay, sure. The big spaceship moving in to show how powerful the Empire, or not the Empire, I forgot what the version of the Empire in this movie is. But anyway, who cares?
It's so much ripped off from Star Wars that they called it the Empire.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally the Empire. Like, obviously, I mean, you remember how the 1977 Star Wars starts with the
Yes,
big
yes.
spaceship,
This
showing how
the
powerful the
destroyer,
Empire
right?
is.
The destroyer
Yeah,
vibes. Yeah.
and obviously that's to show the viewers that's fantastic style of doing exposition without actually doing exposition, showing us how powerful the Empire is and showing how weak the rebels are in their small ship trying to escape. Um, and they do the same thing here. They bring in the big spaceship moving in slowly into. I'm like this is literally Star Wars. This is literally just you took the scene from uh, from the 1977 Star Wars and put it into Rebel Moon. Like, what's the point? Why? I don't know. Anyways, moving on. So, with regard to characters, I think, like I said, Sofia Boutela's Cora doesn't have the stage presence, doesn't have the screen presence, nothing to hold my attention. I think she's a decent actress. She just needs better writing because her character is not interesting at all. If I had to mention one character who again, poorly written, but I think the actor is good enough to still pull it off, is our antagonist, our main antagonist in this movie, who is it's Ed Skrein, Atticus Noble. I think Ed Skrein is a very, very talented actor. I mean, we've seen him in countless movies and series as the villain, as the antagonist, and he's got the skills. He's got the acting chops to pull it off, even though his character is so, because the characters in this movie, Franco, are so black and white, so black and white. There's no gray area here. You're either Hitler or you are Jesus, one or the other. There's no gray here. You're either the most evil motherfucker in the universe, or else you are Jesus.
No flaws.
No, nothing, zero. You're perfect. You're perfect. No, everyone here is either perfect or pure 100% evil.
Even.
The soldiers in this, they come down. Oh, look at that woman. I'm going to R her. I'm not going to say the word. I'm going to R her now. Come here, woman. Come here. I'm going to R you. Haha. And then he turns to his fellow soldiers. Come on, boys. Let's R her.
And
Um,
make
I
it.
mean, it's
Can
ridiculous.
you
It's
make it more
ridiculous.
obvious, please?
I mean,
I
it's.
don't know what you're trying to say. Sorry, man. I was
I mean,
just joking.
listen.
It must come on.
I mean, listen. Star Wars was not subtle in its space and imagery and obviously
No,
the way it approaches it. But I mean, God, please, at least. I mean, even when you see Darth Vader coming on screen the first time, you're like, oh my God, this guy is one intimidating, scary character. And from that point onwards, you're so scared of him every time Darth Vader comes on. The presence is, the tension
it's
is
felt.
there.
It's felt. There's gravitas. Yeah.
Um, but at least we don't have the Star Troopers going up and looking at one of the rebels, female rebels, and going, let's R her now. Come here, woman. Come here.
Do they have?
I'm a space N.
Do this space? I mean, yeah. Do these soldiers have masks on?
No, they don't. No, they
Because that's
don't.
something. That's something that helps. It's like when you have this sort of evil force,
Hmm.
and they have their intentions hidden. It helps to. I'd feel it would help to increase that sense of like, what's this menace all about? What are his intentions? Like you cannot see the expressions, but if you go like, yeah, I'm gonna hire her, like, okay, we get it,
Yeah, it's
please.
it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Anyways, I'm going to wrap it up. Some other negatives, like I said, the visuals. I mean, listen, there's positives and negatives with regard to the visuals. Yes, definitely there are some very, very cool moments. Don't get me wrong. There's one scene where one of the fighters, because actually I haven't even mentioned the story, what the plot is. Let me get into the plot really, really quickly. So Rebel Moon, basically, we've got a peaceful settlement on the edge of a distant moon, finds itself threatened by the armies of a tyrannical ruling force. And a mysterious stranger, who is obviously Sofia Boutella's character, Cora, living amongst its villagers, becomes their best hope for survival. And the best hope for survival is for her to take off and find a number of different soldiers to take on the evil empire, which I wrote down, the Mother World. So the name of the empire in this version of the empire is the Mother World, which is obviously clearly Seven Samurai. It's the whole plot of Seven Samurai. Unfortunately, Seven Samurai obviously had very memorable characters, very memorable dialogue, fantastic character development. You see characters who are all gray, some crazy dudes in Seven Samurai who you see their character developing from one side of the spectrum to the other. For me, Seven Samurai is one of the best all-time best movies ever made. It's up there in my personal top 10. So that might be another reason why I'm quite upset with Rebel Moon as well. Anyways, so the visuals. So like I said, there are some scenes which are very, very cool. For example, there's one scene where one of the fighters, who obviously Sofia Botella tries to ask to help them, takes out these swords, and they're literally lightsabers, right? Because they switch on like with light. Another ripoff, but that scene was really cool, and she swings them, and that's a really cool. I was like, oh, that's really cool. I mean, but that's Star Wars, right? So, I mean, anyways, some of the visuals for the Empire, for no, not the Empire, oh Madonna, for the Mother World, are look good. They are intimidating. The armor for the soldiers is very well designed. I like it. There's a certain element of sci-fi fantasy, which I am a massive fan of. I love sci-fi fantasy. The reason why I'm so crazy about Star Wars. Overall, I liked some of the visuals, but there was one scene, Franco. I want you to watch this scene. There is one scene where they're traveling through a city on a spaceship, and I swear the skyscrapers were not rendered. It was just one big blocks,
Oh my god, no,
completely not rendered. They were not rendered, just
no.
blocks, blocks. That's it. Nothing else. Just big black blocks. They definitely were not rendered. Something happened there.
Corridor Crew might be on it soon, Mela.
Oh,
So
100%, 100%. Because that, I was like, I listen, I'm not the kind of person who's going to be like, oh, those visuals look. I mean, I'm not an expert with regard to CGI, but even my untrained eye could tell that that was no, this ain't it, Chief. This ain't it. And this is a Zack Snyder movie. He's so usually pretty good with CGI and visuals. So yeah, so it's a mix. It's with regard to the visuals, it's a mixed bag. But what I cannot not mention here is it's got a huge scale. The scale is there, so I have to give them that. But some of the CGI is really bad. Anyways, script is awful. Script, the dialogue, literally, no one speaks like a normal person. Everyone speaks for 3, 4, 5 minutes of exposition. Let me tell you the story of when the Empire came. And then the next scene. Now, let me tell you about the Emperor. Now, let me tell you about Darth Vader. Obviously, I'm exaggerating. They don't mention that. They have their own versions of Darth Vader and the Emperor and whatnot. Let me tell you how the Emperor was killed. And let me tell you how the Empire invaded this city.
it's like they think a lot about the motherland empire.
Yeah. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, man, what? Talk like normal people. Like, did Zack Snyder not watch Seven Samurai and see how personal, how like every one of the samurai you could empathize with, you could feel where they were coming from, you knew where they came from, and you knew why they were fighting. Here, I have no idea why they are fighting.
To be honest, Zack Snyder. Have you seen the top 4 by Zack Snyder?
No,
He's got
what
some.
are
He's got like he picked up Excalibur,
Ooh,
John
interesting.
Boorman's Excalibur. I mean, I think even watching that alone, he might have gotten some ideas from there as well. It's really
I saw a comment of this about this on Twitter. It's like in a video game where you have characters. Obviously, each we see each character with like a cutscene where you see them take on fight. Because generally, each introduction to one of the characters is an action scene. So we see them taking on whatever bad person. And after that, you forget to go through all the dialogue options. You just skip everything and then move on to the end of the battle. That's pretty much what it feels like
lol.
here. So overall, I think that's pretty much all I had to say. World building was decent enough. I think it's decent world building. I mean, the world itself is interesting. I'd love for this world, to be fleshed out more. And I'd love for these characters to be fleshed out more because just the way they look, each introduction is cool. I mean, you see the introduction of the woman with the lightsaber swords. I mean, oh my god, that's so cool. But why should I care about her if we know nothing at all about her? So yeah, so that's Rebel Moon. Overall, if I had to give a rating to Rebel Moon, I would probably give it maybe a 1.5 out of 5. I'm really upset about it. I'm really, really. But no, 1.5 is a 3 out of 10. No. 1 out of 5, 2 out of 10. No. Just so 1.5 for okay score. By even the score has nothing. And I love Junkie XL. I love Junkie
Istra.
XL. And even the score is
Meh.
very average, very meh. I mean, it's not bad because obviously Junkie XL doesn't make a bad score, but it's very meh. It's like I mean, I know he did Mad Max. It's very Mad Max-ish. The epic, the drums and the do-do-do-dum, do-do-do. The very similar to the Mad Max. There is one interesting theme song there, which is played when one of the characters flies this griffin-like creature from Harry Potter, but apart from that, it's nothing special. So overall, maybe 1 is harsh. No, 1.5. 1.5 out of 5. I think 1 is harsh. So 1.5 out of 5. If anyone were to ask me if they should watch it, honestly, I would say no. But I mean, if you've got Netflix, might as well. I mean, check it out and maybe you'll enjoy it. I mean, it's got a 5.9 on IMDb. I know it's got somewhere around the 60-ish% audience rating on Rotten Tomatoes. So apparently, some people are enjoying it. Ara, look at those 10s. Don't trust one of those 10s. Let me be clear. Don't trust one of those 10s. And maybe, I mean, to be fair, I did give it a one as well. So I was going to say maybe the ones are the Zack Snyder haters, but I'm not a Zack Snyder hater, and I gave it a 1 out of 5. So, but yeah, it's a movie. It's a Zack Snyder
It's a
movie.
movie.
So yeah, that is my review for Rebel Moon Part One: A Child of Fire. Franco, shall we move on to Aquaman
Aquaman.
and the Lost Kingdom? And would you like to lead the review? Because my throat is getting a bit sore.
So Aquaman, the Lost Kingdom, sequel of the original Aquaman. So, having failed to defeat Aquaman the first time, Black Manta, still driven by the need to avenge his father's death, will stop at nothing to take Aquaman down once and for all. This time, Black Manta is more formidable than ever, wielding the power of the mythic Black Trident, which unleashes an ancient and malevolent force. To defeat him, Aquaman will turn to his imprisoned brother Orm, the former king of Atlantis, to forge an unlikely alliance. Together, they must set aside their differences in order to protect their kingdom and save Aquaman's family and the world from irreversible destruction. So, I watched in before I went into this movie, I saw the first Aquaman, and the first Aquaman, I felt it was a bit insufferable. And let's get this straight out of the gate. I'm sorry, this is not because of the whole Johnny Depp Amber Heard thing. Amber Heard is not an actress, because even in this movie, the way she says some lines, it's there sounds so red. And I'm not saying that this is the best written movie ever out there. By no means whatsoever. But at least even I agree with what you said as well, Andrea. That even if the jokes are silly and stupid, Jason Momoa manages to make it very acceptable kind of humor. Um, um, let's start with the positives though. Again, this movie come for Momoa, stay for Momoa. The chemistry between Patrick Wilson and Jason Momoa is great. Like I wished I could see more of it in the first movie. Um, the action is much more clean. Not there's not many camera movements. I've never felt motion sickness before in the first Aquaman, but this one I didn't feel motion sickness. CGI is much better, of course. There is some obviously the cons now. The villain is kind of wasted. It's just a puppet of an evil master, and Black Manta. At first, even seeing the first Aquaman, I thought I was saying the costume looked ridiculous, but in this one, the costume looked menacing, especially in the scene where they go and attack Aquaman's family. Like this is something I also noticed in the first Aquaman. James Wan, when he's giving a bit of time to flex his horror credentials, he really directs some really good scenes. Like the scene of Black Manta and his eyes glowing in the dark was really good.
Yes, yes, yes. That I heard you. I heard you go. Oh, in that
Yeah,
scene, proper.
I did, and
That was fantastic, fantastic stuff.
because it shows the menace, and even those red glowing eyes, they're very menacing. Um, uh, what else can I say? It's like no, the chemistry again. The CGI looks much better than the first one because the first one had some really bad CGI, like very like you could see his father. What I forgot his Arthur Curry's father's name, but I know Tom Morrison was really sticking out of the background when in Maine. It's like, guys, you have such a beautiful Maine is such a beautiful like state. Why didn't you go and film on location? Um, uh, the thing with Aquaman, both the first and the second one, the scope is over bloated. Like you don't see a cliff, you see fucking gigantic pieces of rock almost, and it's not a volcano. It's Mount Doom. Yes, that's another thing because we were even on Prickly Pears. Mariska Bardakin also said like she was like watching um uh, like World of Warcraft, Lord of the Rings. She mentioned something else. Let me check quickly what she said. But if you bear with me a second, I'm
I mean, Franco, let's be honest. The World of Warcraft is the scene of the Frozen Throne. If I were to show you the trailer of the Frozen Throne,
yes,
like,
yes.
the whole
In fact,
the whole thing's completely ripped off from that.
yeah, I saw that you posted it. Yeah, you posted it on the group as well on the prickly pears. By the way, hi pricklies. Um, uh, personally though,
I mean,
I preferred it.
look at that.
Illustia, Illustra. Oh my god.
Like,
Oh my god.
literally, we've got.
Oh.
I mean,
No.
look at the armor.
Even the shots almost. No.
And then even if we look at the World of Warcraft, which one? The
Frozen Throne? No.
not Frozen Throne, World of Warcraft, Wrath of the Lich King.
Illist now,
Lich
yeah.
King trailer. Look at the enemies, and I mean look at this.
Illustra. Which is all
Like
it,
literally,
it was also a bit of a disappointment because Pilo Esbeck is not a bad actor. And I wish I could have seen more of him when he's acting as the evil king, so to speak.
and I mean look at this. This is completely ripped off from
No.
this trailer. And then obviously we've got the monsters which wake up. I mean, it's basically exactly
I have
what
to
you see in Aquaman.
I have to say there's also H.P. Lovecraft in it, especially with the tentacles and whatnot. Um uh, like I said, if James Wan had to be given a bit more like leeway to flex his horror credentials, it might have been much more of a more entertaining movie. Randall Park was also good as Dr. Shin. But I have to make this really big comment though. This movie was really badly edited. I've never seen a movie. Certain scenes, I don't know if you noticed me. I was doing like this with my hand, like move on, move on, move on. And there were scenes where they needed a bit more of an emotional padding, so to speak. It cuts drastically. Like what the hell is this? There were moments where like the actors were standing around. It's like, what are you? Why are you standing around? Cut immediately. You don't need. I don't know. Why do you want to hit the 2 hour mark? If it's good at 1 hour 30 minutes, leave it at 1 hour 30 minutes. It's not gonna be the end of the world. But
Yep.
there were moments where like cut, cut, and it didn't cut immediately. It's like it was really awkwardly edited. Um. Final rating for me, I'm not. It's not. Listen, like I said, go for Momoa, stay for Momoa. Even Patrick Wilson. Some of the moments, like the Deserter Kingdom, was quite interesting. Um, uh, don't go in watch expecting like a Godfather level dialogue or themes and whatnot. I think it's a good family movie. If you want to go watch it with your kids, there was a kid next to us who was enjoying himself as well.
Yes, definitely enjoyed himself. Definitely enjoyed himself.
Um,
You could
uh,
tell.
and that's all I'm going to say. Final rating 2.5, 2.5 on 5.
Fair enough. Now, in my case, I think Aquaman benefits with being the movie I watched before Rebel Moon, which is the joke I was going to mention before. Because, I mean, objectively, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom is not a good movie. Let's be honest. If we had to go through if we had to like look at this objectively, like review this with a script, visuals, character development, action. Like if we had to review this objectively, it's
It's
objectively not a good
no.
movie. But obviously, we are not robots who review everything. We give a rating to everyone and then form an average. We can have fun, right?
Yes, yes. No, no,
As as fans of I mean, I am a fan of the DC franchise. I love the comics. I'm not ashamed to say that. And I think what Jason Momoa has done with the character of Aquaman so far has been very good. I think probably it's one of the most
Uh,
successful
he he
things to come out
he has
from the DC.
he has the charisma. I mean, say whatever, even the movie, it's like that's why I said go for Momoa, stay for Momoa. He
Mhm.
has the charisma.
It'll be interesting, Franco, to see if he can branch out a little bit more, though, from the, redneck. Yeehaw, let's drink beer and kick some ass.
I think he tried it in Fast X, especially with his villain, but his villain was also
All
good.
right.
That
I'm
vi-
curious, has he ever had any roads where he's not like the, yeehaw, yeah, I'm the tough guy?
I wouldn't say there was his um I wasn't
Duncan
Duncan
Idaho. He was
Idaho.
very good as Duncan Idaho. One of his best performances as Duncan Idaho. But that was still like a tough guy performance,
There's
right?
he,
A bit more nuanced, but still a
there it is, Frontier.
Frontier. I watched season one of Frontier. I didn't watch season two.
What
I watched season one. I
and,
liked it. I liked it a lot.
and wasn't he in Game of Thrones as well?
He was in Game of Thrones. Yes, in Game of Thrones, his character was a bit more of the quiet, tough character, right? And interesting enough, he'd get some decent development there in Game of Thrones because he starts off kind of like basically, sexually assaulting
There
Daenerys
is.
in one of those famous scenes in Gozo. Um, you'll find out very soon. But then obviously he starts to respect Daenerys and he learns too. So there was some very good development for Jason Momoa's character there. So like I said, I hope we can see him maybe branching out a bit more. But for what it's worth, I think he really pulls it off as Aquaman. I think he is, and I hope James Gunn. If I were to advise James Gunn, I'd say one of the few actors I would love you to keep in the new DC universe is Jason
Jason Momoa.
Momoa. I hope they can stick with him.
Friend of the show,
And
James Gunn. Please listen to us.
I really, really like him. Overall, Franco, I had a decent time watching it. I know it's getting a lot of hate. I think on Metascore is 44. It's getting quite a lot of hate. And I think the hate is a bit harsh. I mean, let's be honest. Again, like I said, objectively, this is not a good movie. But it's a very good time at the cinema.
Oh,
And it's one,
so,
yeah, Franco,
sorry, I said 3 on 5 or 2.5 on 5?
2.5,
Okay, no,
2.5
yeah,
on 5.
2.5 on 5 is a decent enough rating for it because,
Mm-hmm,
like I
mm-hmm.
said, I can manage to switch off my reviewers and like not be snobbish about it, but there are some moments where the editing was too obviously. It's like, why are you padding this? You don't need this padding, and then where it needed the padding, it cut off. So it was very obvious for me at least.
Mm-hmm. So if I had to mention the stuff I liked about this movie, I think the humor works really well. I laughed out loud quite a few times. Some of the humor was very, very cringy, but some of the humor worked really well. I really liked some of the humor. The scene where Patrick Wilson starts running like that. Oh, that scene was so good.
The Naruto run.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how to run. I've never run before. That scene was fantastic physical humor. That's really, really well done. And like you, I agree, Franco, that Patrick Wilson, the dynamic between Patrick Wilson and the Jason Momoa is the best thing about this movie. It's. I think I would say quite confidently it saves this movie
Mm.
because I mean, at one point the movie becomes a buddy cop
Yep. Yep.
basically movie
Yep.
pretty much, and it works really well. It works really, really well. They have a great chemistry between themselves, great dynamic. The humor works really well. I'm so glad to see Patrick Wilson's character Orm not be as serious as he was in the first
Mm, mm,
Aquaman.
mm,
As much as it was entertaining to see, and obviously the humor with obviously Jason Momoa playing off using the serious Orm as a butt for many jokes in the first Aquaman. But here, I think their dynamic works even better. So there's that. I thought the action, more overall, comparing the action in Aquaman to the action in Rebel Moon, the action was very good in Aquaman. Some of the scenes were like, oh, wow, that was really cool. One scene in particular, Franco, and the camera pans from them fighting under. Sorry, they were fighting underneath, and then they walk up into the tower, and it's a one-shot take. The
mm.
camera kind of goes up, and then they open the door, and they see Jason Momoa and Patrick Wilson there, and they
No.
punch.
Yeah.
That scene was really well done. I really liked that scene, and that whole action scene had good humor in it. At one point, I was like, oh my god, okay. There will be a lot of moments in this movie where you're like, oh my god, okay, all right, okay. But overall, I think the action was quite well done. The fantasy and horror elements, as much as they were quite underdeveloped, I think were done decently enough as well. I think the monster design was as derivative as it was, and as completely ripped off from World of Warcraft as it was.
Mm.
It was still, for me, I'm a big fan of fantasy. I liked it. I liked it a lot. Yeah, overall, decent. What did you think about the music, Franco? It was
I,
okay.
speaking of music, there was a moment where we really rolled our eyes. There was I think it was a cameo for sure by a singer. I don't know if it's the dance monkey dance where they were like they went into the
Oh,
pirate, and
yes.
I'm like, why did you need that? It sounded
That was
so
so awkward.
awkward.
And the scene ends with her going, "Wah."
It's like-
And I'm like, what the fuck is
that
this?
that was definitely
No, that was.
what you call it, a cameo, and I'm thinking it's of the dance monkey. But for example, in that moment, there was one moment where Aquaman puts the helmet onto the fish, and he tries to remove that was really, I think I like that. That was a bit more, oomph. There was a bit of more of a punch into that.
Hmm.
Give me the information because I really want it.
Hmm. What I would say, my final comment would be, I think this is a really stacked cast, but most of the cast are really underused.
And
Yeah, I think Yahya Abdul Mateen is one of the best actors plying their trade in Hollywood right now. And
he was
as intimidating as Black Manta is,
under
he has nothing to work with.
he was
He has
underused.
nothing, nothing to work with, nothing to work with,
I
nothing
mean,
to
he had
work
a
with.
good line though, like when he said, "Oh my God, first you take his throne, then you take his wife."
Yes, yes, that was funny. That was funny. That was really funny. But I mean, again, he is in my opinion, one of the best actors right now in
No,
Hollywood.
he has an imposing presence, even when he threatens Shin. That was imposing. Again, please, I'm sorry. This has nothing to do with the whole Johnny Depp and Amber Heard kerfuffle. Amber Heard is not an actress. Even there was one line in particular. I'm like, I told you, and you were like, she's reading the line.
Hmm. Hmm.
Speaking of exposition, for example, like, oh my God, her lines. I don't know if she insisted on saying these lines because she didn't need to say those lines.
Hmm. 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 Apart from that, to be honest, I really liked Randall Park. Clearly, Randall Park is obviously a comedic actor. He excels at comedic timing, and his one-liners are hilarious. But to be honest, he had some decent dramatic scenes as well in this.
Yes,
I
yes,
mean,
yes. And
so he's a very good actor. I like him a lot.
do check out his directorial effort, Shortcuts.
Okay, interesting. Like I said, Patrick Wilson, Jason Momoa were great. Nicole Kidman, very underutilized. What a waste.
Mm.
I mean, but obviously, I mean, she's probably there just for the money, to be honest. Temuera Morrison, I really like as well. Very, very,
Yeah.
very good actor. So, I mean, looking at this cast and this cast, Pilu as Beck, I mean, this John Rice Davis, obviously,
Mm.
this is a stacked cast, but many of them are unfortunately quite
Underused,
underutilized.
underused.
Dolph Lundgren, another great actor. I mean, many of them are severely
D-
underutilized.
Dolph
But
Dolph Lundgren, I don't. I was he? No, I don't think he was because I get confused with him with Flash Gordon. But Dolph Lundgren, like he's perfect for this kind of roles because he is a decent actor, but then he knows when this is going to be like a sort of B movie cheesy kind of
mala,
content, and
mala,
he
mala,
does
mala,
he
mala,
does
mala, mala,
quite
mala,
like
mala,
he does quite a very decent job in this one, even in the
mala,
first in
mala,
the
mala.
first Aquaman.
I mean, again, he's a very he can play off the imposing, like regal figure very, very
Mm-mm-mm.
effectively. I mean, he's built for that role, right? So overall, Franco, I came out of this quite okay. Like I'm not going to say it's a great movie. I'm not going to say it's a good movie, but very, very watchable, very,
Yes,
very, very
yes.
watchable, and a fun time at the cinema. So if I had to give this a rating, I think I might be a I, if I'm objective, I would give this a 2.5. If I had to think of it like how I feel right now, I think of it more as a 3 out of 5 movie for me personally. But probably on Letterboxd it will end up being a 2.5.
2.5.
But for now, I'll give it a 3 because obviously we are subjective reviewers. We are influenced by what we watched before, what we watched after, and Rebel Moon. Really stank the place up, man. Really stank the place up. So I'll
Yep.
give Aquaman the Lost Kingdom a 3 out of 5. And let's conclude Melafranco
To
with
keep it to keep it
Maestro.
with the maritime themes, this is Oscar bait. You see, I don't know. I hope that the chat will get the joke. No, but first and foremost, I know I hit it right out of the bat. Os- if you call it totally Oscar bait, you are right because you told me. What did you tell me actually, Andrea, about this being Oscar bait?
No, I personally hate the term Oscar bait. I really, really, really hate that term
But
because I mean there is a good movie behind this. I mean, Issa, if you, I think it's a bit lazy as well to like call a movie Oscar bait. This is, I mean, just because usually the term Oscar bait is used by people who look at the Oscars as this snobbish academy that looks only at the indie darlings and ignores the movies like like Aquaman, like Rebel Moon, and so on, right? So and whenever they watch a movie like Maestro, whenever they watch a movie like what was the one that the woman who travels around won the Oscar like three years ago.
Nomadland.
Wait, Nomadland, like for example, they would call Nomadland as Oscar bait.
Listen. I'm one of the guys that didn't like Nomadland whatsoever.
Hmm,
I
hmm,
found it very tipo. It took away because the book on which it was based was completely different to what the movie ended up to be. I mean, at the end of the day, though, like silver lining of the whole story that the actors which Zhao used in that movie was they got a better life at the end of the day, which is the silver
hmm,
lining.
hmm, hmm. Anyways, so what were you saying? So I don't like the term, but again, I kind of understand why people would use that term for this movie at the same time.
I didn't. I don't use it as a snobbish sense because this movie has so basically, long story short, this movie is about the life and the trials and tribulations of conductor composer Leonard Bernstein. Leonard Bernstein, who's also famous for West Side Story, we mentioned it earlier, and his love story is a very deep love story with actress Felicia Montealegre Cohn Bernstein, excellent. I will say again, excellent Carey Mulligan.
Oh, so good.
That's why, and I think she would deserve an Oscar for this role in
Hmm,
particular.
hmm.
But
Best supporting actress, definitely.
yeah, so it's very well filmed. Bradley Cooper really knows his ends out now, in as far as making a movie. But I felt the pace. I felt the pacing for me. It's like and but I have to admittedly the problem with a move with a Netflix movie is you get distracted. We got distracted at least 4 times by our cats meowing because we're not giving them attention, and I also had to go and have a small toilet break. That doesn't help, and actually it extends the pacing of the movie. Very dialogue heavy as well. This movie, I was expecting a bit more of like the musical number was excellent. The musical number, and when they just started meeting each other, Leonard and Felicia, and I was expecting a bit more of that. To tell you the truth, especially and now it sticks out like even though it's a beautiful scene, it sticks out like a sore thumb because like that's it. That's the one scene you're gonna give us about it. Despite this, and especially if you say this over the top character, like it needed a bit more virtuosity, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Don't die yet.
No, no, still alive.
Okay. No. What do you think? I was expecting your reaction, basically.
So with regard to Maestro, I went in expecting a movie and I got a different movie. I was expecting this movie to focus more on his career, and
Mm-mm-mm.
I wasn't expecting it to focus this much on the relationship, obviously, between Bernstein and his wife, um, which is an interesting decision taken by Bradley Cooper, both as a I'm guessing he wrote this as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
with Josh Singer. So I think it's an interesting decision. So I went in expecting a movie. I got a different one. I still liked what I got. Like you, I agree. Visually, this is stunning, 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 stunning. The black and white scenes are
Hmm.
just so crisp, so beautiful. I love the black and white scenes in this. Beautifully shot. The cinematography is incredible. Like, great, great, great stuff. So Bradley Cooper can clearly shoot a movie. I think overall, what do you think about the performances, Franco?
Oh, great performances throughout. Even Maya Hawke, Sarah Silverman, despite her recent controversy, Sarah Silverman was really good as well.
Mhm.
Matt Bomer, it's nice to see Matt Bomer again, which I couldn't help but wonder, like, what if you were Superman, actually?
Hmm.
Because he also has the Superman look, yeah, Matt Bomer.
Yeah, he's very, very handsome man. Very handsome man.
Who else? Yeah, Carrie Mulligan steals the show.
Carey Mulligan.
Carrie Mulligan steals
Carey
the
Mulligan
thunder.
for me,
Still,
she's the standout.
especially during the last like the last scenes, like my heart was really going out to her, like uh, Bradley Cooper. I think it's almost as if he got too much on his plate, even though he does play a decent Leonard Bernstein. Huh? And speaking of the nose, I'm sorry if it. My father said, he said, trust me, if it wasn't for the nose, he wouldn't have looked like Leonard Bernstein. He said,
Yeah, I don't get that whole, and I could still see people posting about it till this day on X about how that is anti-Semitic. Guys, please, Jesus, if his kids are completely okay with it and gave the go ahead,
that's one thing, and secondly, the kids at the, I think it was it Cannes or Venice. Like, you see his kids, like, also like
yeah, Venice. I think it was Venice.
Venice. I mean, they got the blessing, and I'm sorry. This is not Nina Simone, because Nina Simone was even worse. If you're telling me about this, the Zoe Saldana Nina Simone was even worse, because they darkened her skin and also changed her nose. Like, Lala, you possibly didn't have a black actress to play Nina Simone for real at the Fibney. But this is a different, like, because Bradley Cooper has the charm and has looks, like, even when he plays an older Leonard Bernstein, he was in the character as well.
Hmm. So, just a couple of other things I wanted to mention about this movie. First of all, I love the fact that there are very long scenes with basically no cuts.
Mm-mm.
Very, very long scenes with no cuts, which is, I mean, it's such a, honestly, such a breath of fresh air just to see just one long scene going on without the cut there, cut there, cut here, cut here. Now show it from there. Don't show. Just, smooth storytelling, great actors on screen, I mean, obviously it's a continuation of what I'm mentioning here. I have to mention the obviously the Mahler scene, which was stunning,
The
stunning, 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 stunning,
in
stunning.
the church, right?
In the church, exactly. That was this clearly the standout for me
Mm-hmm.
in this movie, together with Carey Mulligan's performance. The Mahler scene was fantastic. I'm a big fan of Mahler and Mahler's music, so getting to hear his composition on Maestro was for me perfect. Make sure, I mean, obviously this is out on Netflix, right? Unless you live in America
Yep.
and you're lucky to get to watch this in the cinema. I'd love to watch this in the cinema, by the way. This would be a great watch in the cinema.
No, I feel like my viewing experience of this one was not the right conditions, to tell you the truth, because I think in the cinema it might have been a completely different thing.
Hmm.
The close-ups, man. He had some really nice close-ups, especially
Hmm.
even on Carey Mulligan and the early characters that they were singing as well. It
Hmm.
it felt like almost watching a 50s movie, but through like 2020s lens, if you know what I mean. That kind of melodrama, so to
Hmm.
speak.
Hmm. And then the final few minutes, the final 15, 20 minutes. I think were beautifully done. You know what, Francosta? I was quite mixed about this movie up to the midway point. I'm trying to put my finger down on what was it that
Sorry.
because I was really really mixed on this movie up to the midway point. Then something happened and I kind of snapped and I really got into it suddenly and I ended up really really almost loving this movie. I wouldn't say loving this movie, but really 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 liking this movie. Because at the start of the movie, I wasn't completely in it. Whether
Mm-mm.
it was maybe I think what put me off a little bit was the voice that Bradley Cooper does in this. He has a very strange voice
Mm-mm.
in this. I think that put me off a little bit. I think it sometimes it felt just a little bit too cold for me.
To put on. Yes, yeah, that's something I felt as well. Like, why am I
Just a bit
feeling
too
cold?
cold. But I think something happens midway through. I can't put my finger down on it, but something midway through, I get really invested in it. Then obviously there was the whole Mahler scene where I was like, oh my god, this is so good, and obviously I'm lucky to have invested into a very very good Dolby surround system, and that obviously helps when you're watching a movie about Leonard Bernstein. And then obviously I'm not. I mean, so it's not really a spoiler, but obviously what happens after the Mahler scene, incredibly dramatic. Again, fantastically portrayed by Carey Mulligan, who I believe I have to go through the whole list again. But after watching this performance, she definitely must be a front runner for best supporting actress. Definitely must be a front runner for best supporting actress. Um, uh, I don't think Bradley Cooper should win Best Actor. I think right now my favorite would be Cillian Murphy as Oppenheimer. I think
Mm-mm.
Cillian Murphy's performance is much stronger than Bradley Cooper's. If we had to ask my personal opinion, but I think definitely Carey Mulligan should be a front runner for the Best Supporting Actress. Final thoughts, Franco?
Um, um, no, my rating might be a bit harsh because, to be honest, again, considering my viewing experience and everything, I was going to give it a 3.5 on 5. I was expecting, like you, I was expecting a certain movie, got a different one. The length doesn't help. There was also a moment where like, where is this? I don't know. I was expecting some kind of conflict, so to speak, that I got in Oppenheimer, for example. There were many conflicts, especially internal and external conflicts. There were moments where it's like, this is such a almost bourgeois liberal conflict,
Yes, yes, yes. It suffers from that. It suffers a lot from that.
the one particular scene is like, this guy. Again, I'm not saying that there's no problems whatsoever, um uh, but for example, Felicia was taking too many hits for her own good, to be honest. It's like, it wasn't fair on her, and the way is like everything is okay when clearly it wasn't okay for her. Again, that was a great scene where you said, when you mentioned that there was no cuts. It's an argument scene, and you just see it through this vine, through this passageway of a vine, and
Yes, yes, yes,
that was a
yes.
highlight for me as well. There was also the highlight of her standing, like, that was such a great shot. The shadow, his shadow on her, like, just looking out at him, almost like, genuinely, like, literally standing in the shadow of a giant, and she's just there, like, smoking the cigarettes and almost feeling like, she's standing she's feeling almost meaningless in front of such a talent, when it shouldn't be the case. And it's like, maybe that could have been, it did, because she did mention it's like compared to him, the people around him feel like flies. Like, he's got the fame, he's got the talent, he's got the success, and when she and because I never heard of Felicia Bernstein before this movie.
Same.
So and this ends up, maybe that's why this ends up maybe being a plus for the movie, because it having him, like, showing this character that was also always in the shadow of the Maestro. It's a nice change of pace. It's not just about Leonard Bernstein, but also the people he around in his world, in his immediate world. Again, I'm 3.5 on 5. Great acting, some pacing issues. Maybe I would change my mind if this was shown in the cinema. But you disagree with me, right?
No, I don't. I'm at 3.5 out of 5 as
Okay,
well.
okay, okay.
Yeah, I'm at 3.5 because I mean, considering the fact that this is obviously a 2 hour, 9 minute movie, and for the first hour, I wasn't completely in. I loved the second hour. I think the Mahler scene and everything that comes after that is as close you can get, not a masterpiece, but as close as you can get to a masterpiece. Helped especially by Kerry Mulligan, and obviously the beautiful sound design, the music, obviously Mahler music, and the way it's shot, everything is amazing. But up to the midway point, I was not completely in. I just couldn't find myself, and I almost disliked Leonard Bernstein at some point. I was
Mm.
like, I feel like I should be liking him, but I don't. It's weird. So I was between a 3.5 and a 4. I think technically this is a 5 out of 5. Let's be honest. I mean,
Technically, yes,
technically
yes,
it's a
yes,
5 out of
yes.
5. But with the emotions I felt, strong emotions in the second half of the movie, zero emotions in the first half of the movie, which is weird, right? It's like I don't get what happened there.
Yeah, like I said it felt too bourgeois, especially the discussions that they were having. I'm like, they sound so superficial and like pseudo philosophical. But for what reason? It's like,
Yeah, that's it. I think it fell to pseudo, kind of like the way they don't talk like normal people, right? Let's be honest. Like very stuck up discussions, and stuck up for the sake of being stuck up. Now there's no substance behind
like
it, kind of.
one. But this is the thing. Then again, if I had to do a counter, the discussion he had with the Russian. That Russian man where he said like, you should change your name. That was a good thing because it was a thing back in the day in post-war
Mm,
Americas. You don't
mm,
you shouldn't have. I mean, for all the accusations of this movie being anti-Semitic, like that scene in particular should totally shoot down the whole argument because the Russian guy, a Jew, and he said, you know what, change your name to Burns because you know what's like, the sentiment right now. It's like
Anyways, so my rating for Maestro is a 3.5. Franco, yours is a 3.5 as well,
3.5.
right?
Yep.
Yep, very, very good. All right. And with that, we have come to the end of this podcast. Thank you to all the viewers who joined us. Our next podcast, Franco, will be probably, I'm not sure, but it might be next week on the
29th.
29th. Most probably. We will have
20,
Cassandra on the show, and we can talk about our top 10 movies of the year.
the beautiful, wonderful Cassandra Spiteri, who's now he's now a mainstay in the adverts as well for cinema, the Christmas
We're
adverts. Yeah, we're going to do the countdown, right?
going to do the
Countdown of the best best
movies
movies.
of the
Re-
year, and we can talk about obviously best series, and I can talk about best video games. Franco, I don't think
But
you're going to talk about the best video games.
you know what I'm actually playing? I got an emulators. I've got an emulator of old Game Boy movies, old Game Boy games, and the Nintendo. It's a good nostalgia. It's a good nostalgic kick in the butt.
Mm,
But
okay.
we should, and like I was going to mention, we should have shown that gameplay trailer of Mouse.
Oh my God, what the hell is that game? What the hell is that game?
I
That's
no, I
it's a weird
mean,
one.
guys, check out this game called Mouse with a rubber hose animation. I think it's similar to another game. I think it was called Ink. I don't know if it's by the same developer, but they have a similar style. But anyway,
By the way, Franco, before we end the podcast, I want to tell you I forgot at the start, because me and my dad are doing the Ingmar Bergman
ooh, marathon.
marathon of movies, and we just finished this week Persona.
Wow. Mwah. That's one of my personal top tens.
Madonna,
I
Madonna,
I
so good.
I think you should watch to get into the spirit. Funny and Alexander. I think it was like my favorite for like such a great Christmas movie. Speaking of Christmas movies, forget Die Hard for a second. Watch Funny and watch Funny and Alexander. Funny and Alexander is with autobiographical elements, great scenery. Sven Nykvist cinematography. Mwah, Estra, there was the ghost scenes like I've never seen such a beautiful ghost scene on film. The sweetest sunlight, the way this guy like I've been to Sweden and it's true. The sunlight over there compared to the sunlight here is different. Same in Korea. It's like again, this is some
Interesting.
really dorky, nerdy shit, but
We had Seven Seal next on our list, but Filkas will push that to Faniel and Alexander.
Fanny and Alexander, you get into the spirit and you really go through the journey with Fanny and Alexander as well.
Will do. But man, Persona is just, I mean, the performances in that and like the way there was one scene where I actually shouted out. The scene where she looks up and the camera up and kind of like takes the image from above her eyes and she looks up. That scene, I was like, oh my god, that's like one of the best scenes I have ever watched in my life.
Modern for it, and
Very avant-garde,
and
soup.
and Portrait of a Lady on Fire does make a callback of it. Do you remember like the scene where it's one is a profile and the other is on the
Yes,
telephone?
yes, and the scene where she pulls her hair and puts her hair. That scene. That I mean, it's incredible. It's a masterpiece, absolute masterpiece. The opening put me off. I think that's the whole point of it, right? The
Yes,
opening
yes, it's
of Persona is to
very
put you off.
those fast edits and yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And the kid, what the hell is the kid doing? Putting his hand on what's her name? On that's the actress, right? On screen.
Yeah, vibrant mistake.
The kid putting his hand up.
I forgot, but I do have his the Magic Lantern. I have his biography here. I don't know if I
Okay.
sold it,
All right.
but much of his movies is very personal. There were some movies where Life of the Marionettes and another movie that didn't do any good.
Mm-hmm,
But I do suggest even for the viewers, Fanny and Alexander as a great Christmas movie.
mm-hmm.
Warmth. There's warmth. There's also the coldness of religion in it as well. You see, but I'm not going to spoil it. And it's a beautiful, beautiful movie all throughout.
Anyways, good thing we had no news and trailers today, Franco,
True.
because we had lots of movies to talk about, and it's good to just talk about movies sometimes. Just focus on the reviews.
Yep.
Anyways, we can end it here. We hit the 1 hour 30-minute mark. I think it's a good point to end the podcast. So thank you, Franco.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, viewers and listeners. And a Merry Christmas to you all. Be kind to each
Merry
other.
Christmas to everyone.
Keep
And
keep your dear ones close to you.
like, subscribe, do the usual shit, and we'll see you guys next time on the Ad Lib Podcast on the 29th for our top 10 movies, series, and video games. I haven't played 10 video games this year, so it'll be just a few.